Hello, and welcome to the session Beyond Views, Measuring Creator Impact. I'm Renee Teeley. I'll be moderating. I'm an executive business partner to Sarah Renee Clark, who is a successful creator and entrepreneur. If you don't know her, you should check her out. Amazing. So I've been in the industry for about 20 years now, and the measurement of creator success really hasn't evolved. Like, that's crazy to me. So it's typically measured in just a few ways. Views, subs, maybe followers, depending on your platform. Let me just move that a little bit. And those numbers can look great. So when you get a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, a lot of followers, that looks good. And it might feel really good too, but that doesn't always tell the full story. So we also have a lot of smaller creators who have immense impact. So they might have more trust with their audience. Their audience is coming back and watching all of their content. They're buying stuff based on their recommendations. And that's a lot of impact for those types of creators. And sometimes they're kind of not part of the story. And so that kind of influence sometimes is hard to measure. It's a little bit messy, and the way that you measure it and the way you define customer success can change based on where you are in the industry. So we have someone who is a creator, we've got someone from a brand, we've got another creator, and we have someone from a platform. So that sounds a little bit like the start of a joke. We have two creators, a platform, and a brand walking to a bar. But instead they're here. So I want to kick things off a little bit before we talk about where things are going, let's talk about how we're measuring success today. So, Renee, let's start with you.
Hi.
Hello. So we've got multiple Renees on the platform, or on the, not on the platform, but on the stage right now. So in terms of measuring success, from YouTube's perspective and your perspective, what defines creator success?
So we actually have a statistic called creators making it, because YouTube is really interested in people who are coming onto the platform, becoming successful. And that does depend on what their point of view is. There are some people, to your point, who just want to blow up on YouTube. They want max subs and max views. There are other people who want to make money. They want big bank beats little bank. They just want to have a lot of brand deals, a lot of conversions, and that may have nothing to do with sub count. It may have nothing to do with followers. And then you have people who want to have a community. Like, they want to build a relationship with people. They want to have a great comment section, a great community section, and they want to do something meaningful with their life. And YouTube wants to be a platform that enables all of, whatever your goal is, you should have the ability to measure it and meet it on the platform.
I love that you mentioned community. So Tayllor, I want to hand it over to you. But before you answer the question, just tell us a little bit about what your content is.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a pretty interesting story going from beauty content to going to you're a developer.
Yeah. So I started off maybe 12 years ago, aging myself here, but I started off as a beauty influencer. That was all the rage back then. Everyone wanted to be a Mac girl, me included. So I started there, and then about 7 years into that, I was like, I want to be a developer. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy, but it worked out because now I'm a full-time tech influencer. I've worked in corporate. I've worked at Apple. I've kind of had the experience, but now I'm a tech girly full-time.
And how do you measure creator success?
Oh, man. I don't know if this is the typical way, but I am very community and impact based. So I'm not always looking at the numbers. I'm not always looking at the likes on every post. I'm not super analytical like that, but I can tell a good story and I can connect to my audience. And I feel like a lot of my brand partners enjoy the fact that when I talk to my audience, they talk back. So I measure success by how I make the people that are following me feel.
And are you typically looking at, sorry, got a lot of close-ups here, but are you typically looking at the comments for that type of feedback?
Yeah, the comments, my DMs. I have so many conversations in DMs. I feel like that. I mean, obviously it's private, so it is overlooked, but a lot of discussions happen there. I have a little community on Instagram. I talk a lot to my audience and my community as well. And conversations. I look at conversations and what people are saying.
Yeah, that's great. And Dustin is a creator as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your channel? And then how do you measure creator success?
I love it. I love being here with you all. I'm Dustin, PolyInnovator, writer, YouTuber, and podcaster. And one of the things that I do is my main channel is about being polymathic, multidisciplinary. When you have a different interest that you want to pivot to, I talk about that kind of stuff. It's okay to be more than one thing. And one of my shows is I interview people like that. I had someone on there who is a quantum physicist, ballerina, and dances with robots, right? Very divergent. But there's a lot of people who come on that show who don't always think they are multifaceted or have that imposter syndrome. And when I talk to them, I say, it's okay to be many things. You can see the light in their eyes, feeling seen and accepted. I think that is, even though not everyone's going to see that video, it's not going to be the greatest when it comes to views and metrics. The people who do see it, they feel seen. They'll leave comments saying, like, oh, I am polymathic. I am multidisciplinary. That's something I really look forward to seeing the impact in comments, like you said.
Yeah, we need to follow up after this about the dancing with robots. That sounds amazing. I have some robots that I build myself, so I would love to dive into that a little bit. And then Ashlee, from a brand perspective, so talk a little bit about what you do and how are you measuring creator success?
Yes. So, my name is Ashlee McCullock. My team is a centralized group that handles social insights and research across Paramount Skydance. So our job is to connect the dots between our fans and our fandom communities, our own social accounts, and then also our creators that we partner with. And impact for me is really seeing those three things work holistically together, which is oftentimes difficult.
Is there something specific that you're using today to measure, like sentiment, for example?
That is a great question. I think I just actually got back from maternity leave. And in the 6 months that I've left, the tools that are available for sentiment measurement have improved. They're amazing. Even based on what we could have done in July. So we use Meltwater. We have our own tools and internal AI models that we've trained, as well as Sprinkler and Talkwalker within our tech stack.
Right. So it's getting easier to measure sentiment.
Yes.
It's been relatively hard in the industry.
For sure. And at scale, which has been the struggle, right? Previously, sentiment models could not understand sarcasm or emoji usage, or really learning the intricacies within these smaller fandoms. Now we can train models to find those things and then do it across multiple fandoms, multiple shows, thousands of accounts.
Yeah. That's great to hear. Because like I said, it's been really hard to measure in the past. I know from being on the brand perspective and on the creator side, sometimes with creators, they have a hard time explaining the sentiment from their audiences. And for brands, that's been traditionally hard to do as well. I want to go back to Renee. So when YouTube is looking at different metrics, what are some of the things that are more important now than they used to be?
Yeah, I think it's less that the thing is important and just our way of understanding it keeps evolving. So YouTube Studio has YouTube Analytics, which is fantastic, but not everyone, I don't spreadsheet. I'm trying to think of a way to say it. I don't pivot table. I know we have mutual friends who download CSV files and I can't do any of that. Averages are hard for people to understand. Statistics are very hard. When you talk about statistical significance, people's eyes roll back. I don't know what that means. Just tell me which thumbnail is better. We've explored things. In the beginning, it was very numbers heavy. And then we started doing data stories because in this Edward Tuftean dream world, visual representation of data was maybe we can reach other people. But now in an age of Gemini, we can have Ask Studio in YouTube Studio. And instead of having to hunt around and find the data, you can just say, how's my video doing? What is the sentiment in the comments? What is something that I haven't done that my audience is looking for, an obvious gap? And conversation is something that for a lot of people is very accessible in a way that just trying to dig deep into data or do a lot of analytics can either be troublesome or problematic, or can leave you open to a lot of other blind spots. So I think the metrics that matter are we're getting a better understanding of what doesn't matter, which is hugely important. Mm-hmm. So I think people fixate, especially early on metrics that don't really move the needle for them. And we're getting more to what can I do to steadily improve and better reach my audience?
And what are the metrics that don't matter?
So I think one of the things that's interesting about data is there's a paradox. So as a video becomes viral, the click-through rate and the view duration go down, not up. So someone will say, I've got this fantastic click-through rate and no one's watching my video. What's going on? But it turns out 3% of 1,000,000 is so much more than 10% of 1,000. And that's not always intuitive. So people would like look at the numbers and then not understand where like we can give them a natural language response that gives them context and explains to them what they're seeing and why. And that becomes so much more valuable.
Yeah. So I'm just going to give a shout out to the mutual friend that he mentioned. So it's Gwen Miller from Theorist. She's not actually here right now, but she definitely dives deep into data. I've had people send me CSV files and I'm like, cool. What do I do with this? So it's been pretty interesting. I want to ask the same question to everybody else though. What are things that are more important to you today than things in the past? So there might have been something that you put a lot of emphasis on and you've kind of moved away from that. So I want to start with you, Ashlee.
I would say brands are often stuck with the vanity metrics still. Followers, impressions, God forbid, potential impressions. They want to see a big number on the slide. And a lot of times that is what, as researchers, we push back on, but it is hard to fight that battle. Instead, my team has really been transitioning to focusing more on sentiment. Because the tools are getting so good, we can do it at scale, and do it across tons of shows, tons of brands, in a way that feels, legitimate. And we're not just giving you a sentiment percentage score. We're giving you themes and really understanding the conversation. So I'd say sentiment is definitely more of a focus now, and followers and hopefully impressions we're moving away from.
Do subscribers and followers still matter? Is that still like a top level metric to get a creator in the door for brand deals?
I wish I could say that it isn't, but it is. Yeah. I think a lot of traditional marketers still think in impressions, think in those big numbers, where the platforms have moved away from that. And we know they have. There is a gap in the way that we tell success, for creators in these traditional media spaces.
Yeah. I think it's still a tough conversation around creator success. And even myself, when I'm introducing a creator, it's hard to point to something other than follower count as part of that just general introduction.
Can I add something super quick to that?
Yes.
So we have another mutual friend, Dave Wiskus, who put it really well. He said subscriber count is all the money you've ever had in the bank, which is an interesting number, but nowhere nearly as important as your current balance. And also, like, if someone subscribed this week, that's a very strong signal. They subscribed 10 years ago, probably a very weak signal.
I think it's still a strong signal when you're introducing someone.
Yes.
Because they're not asking the follow-up questions of, when did you get those subscribers? That's a great point.
But they will ask you how much money is in your bank, not how much money has ever been in your bank.
It's true. Don't ask me how much money is in my bank. So I'd love to go back to that same question with you, Tayllor. So is there anything that is, that was important to you before and is less important now that you're really looking at? So I know community is kind of a big thing that's come up time and time again. So how's that evolved for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the opposite thing. Like, I personally, as a creator, I've stopped locking in on followers so much. I know it's still important. And, I'm sure I've missed opportunities because of that. But I think that the bigger picture for me is like longevity. Mm-hmm. And I find that building my community out and really like locking in with my people, I can translate that to a brand and sell myself better than if I said, well, I have 115,000 followers and like nothing to follow that up with. And it's like, okay, cool. But like, do they listen? Do they buy? Can you convert? Like, all those things they're going to ask. And like, I've been taking the time over the past, I would say probably 2 years to really dive deeper into that to see what kind of impact I can drive. And like, for my size, I think I've done a pretty decent job. I'm here on the stage with like really amazing people. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Every time you say something, I just smile. Like there's just like the community just like oozes out. I like it. So Dustin, same question. So
same answer too. I think that before I would try to grow my followers or subscribers. And yes, I'm a smaller creator, so that's really important for me to get to that point, like get to a monetization on a newer channel. One of my newer channels was 2 years ago was when I started it. They got 500,000 views in the last couple years, which sure, impressions and views are not that important nowadays, but for a smaller channel and such a shorter time span too, I think that's something to acknowledge and like actually look back. Okay, I did do something. Sure, some videos might only get 1,000 views, but they add up. And I try to put out more and get more of those views overall.
Follow-up question for you. So are you working with a lot of brands for brand deals?
Yeah, I would just start off by saying, like, I am a smaller creator, but I was able to talk to OpaSplit, for example, who is a big proponent of this whole creator lab. And working with them, I was one of their first partners, but it was because I had 120 interviews in the backlog. I burned through all those videos into that tool and became their biggest power user. So while I am a smaller creator, I could still connect with that company and work with them and get access to it. They actually brought me to NAB 2024, and that's how I was able to start coming here. So even though I'm a smaller creator, I was able to get something out of it and be able to network with amazing people.
So following up on that just a little bit, because there may be some other creators here that are in a similar situation where they're kind of a smaller creator. Are there certain metrics that you lead with when you're talking with a brand?
I think it's more about how I can work with them and do it better. So like, hey, this person is talking about this tool in this way. I can talk about it in a different way or come from a different point of view. Or I tried all the other tools. Yours is the best, and here's why. And because of that, I can connect with them. The metrics for it, yes, I got a lot of views, but that doesn't always sell well with certain companies. And so I just try to talk about it in a more like personal context. Here's how I can do it differently.
Yeah. You look like you were going to say something.
No, we're locked in today. But I agree. I feel like your personal point of view matters so much. Like in tech, there's lots of creators and like we're all constantly talking about the same gear. The day it drops, embargo goes up and we're all like, the iPhone 17, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, that's exciting, but it's your perspective. It's your story that makes your viewpoint unique. And then your audience that you've curated is going to lock in and they may pick something up differently from me and they pick it from Dustin, but it's like, that's the whole point. Yeah.
So when you're talking with brands, are there certain things that you're leading with? Like, what are those like metrics or anything in terms of?
Usually it's just conversation. Like, it's like one of my big things. And like, I share this with all creators is like, get the brand on the phone. Like if a brand says, can we set up? Yes, we can set up a call immediately. I absolutely want to talk to you, tell you my story, and like also tell you how I connect personally with this brand. I think that matters so much more than just being like, I can get you 1 million views. That is great. And you know what I mean? Like, is this a brand that I'm going to talk about once and then forget about? Or is this a brand that's going to be a part of my story moving forward and then be a part of my audience's story because they're going to adapt it because I can convert and they listen to me?
Yeah. I want to double down on what you just said. We're going to double click into that a moment. In terms of phone calls, I think it actually is really important to try to get on a call with the brand so you can actually talk things through as opposed to just email. And I know that's not always possible with some brands.
Yeah.
True. But it is something that I think really helps because you can talk about the other metrics, the other things that you bring to the table.
Yeah.
So kind of layering on top of that, Ashlee, how hard is it to do that at scale?
Wow, great question. I would say it kind of depends on the size of the brand. Oftentimes we're working with creator agencies who are in the space every day because we as traditional media company might not have the expertise in finding those smaller mid-level creators that are going to move the needle, where I think a lot of the times if we're looking internally, we do get stuck with those vanity metrics. So yes, definitely getting on the phone is ideal. Working with agencies is great because it really helps us as legacy media set up that connection and help to create a dialogue about those metrics and what matters.
What are the most important things in terms of figuring out if you're going to work with that creator again for that next campaign?
Another great question. So I think at a base level, we're always going to look at our standard campaign metrics, right? So, we're going to want to see a views and impressions number. We're going to want to see, engagements on those posts. But I think at a deeper level, we want to see in the comment section, in the sentiment, is the content resonating with the fans we're trying to reach in an organic and authentic, I know we don't like that word anymore, but in an authentic way that puts us in a conversation that we couldn't manufacture ourselves.
Yeah, that's speechless. It's great. It's great. So Renee, I want to talk a little bit about like, how is YouTube kind of deciding which creators to work with also? So there's been a lot of PR with some larger creators. There's different programs out there. What are some of the things that you're looking at?
Oh, wow. So I think that's a hugely multifaceted answer because it really, like, YouTube is not, like, creators are not a monoculture. YouTube's not a monoculture. So it really depends on what part of YouTube. So like creator collectives where we get like a bunch of creators together and introduce them, that's really geographic based. It's like a lot of creators just don't know where we don't know where each other lives. We're all talking on the internet all the time and it'd be great to hang out in real life.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know literally where anybody lives here. So like if creators register with that and then we say like we're throwing a big party in like Salt Lake City or Los Angeles swimming and then these creators come together and they meet each other. That's like a very powerful way of working with creators. Other times it might be like, hey, we're launching all these great new membership features. Emily D. Baker is incredible at memberships. It would be great to work with her and figure out like, what are her needs? Like, how are the features resonating? And then you have like, oh, thumbnail A/B testing. How does that scale when you're getting 230 million views on times 3 thumbnails now? And then you're like, hey, Jimmy, can you like throw up 3 thumbnails and we'll see. So I think like it really varies on what the creator is doing, what like the campaign YouTube is running, who they want to talk to, who they want to reach, how they can help. It's huge. Like, how can we help creators? But there's no like single answer. It's more each group trying to find the best possible answer.
Yeah. I actually really appreciate that you're kind of looking at different things depending on what the activity is as well. So I've been fortunate to be invited to, many of the creator collective events, and I also co-hosted one. And it's so meaningful when you're able to bring people together. So that, again, that community.
It's a lonely job sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dustin, you have a whole framework, that you've put together that I think a lot of people here could benefit from. Can you tell us a little bit about your framework?
Yeah, I called it the creator equation because again, when it comes to putting out more content and reaching more people and increasing the amount of stuff that could be measured, you have to increase the amount of reps you are doing. And so I try to think about what do I need to do in order to become a bigger creator? Well, I need to do X, Y, and Z, put out this foundation. So the equation is strategy plus automation times execution equals success. And so when you have that right strategy, you have the right tools, like OpenSplit, for example. And then when you have the actual execution factor, you can actually put in the reps and do more. That's what's going to lead to that more exponential curve and get more views, get more impact, more comments, more connections, networking.
And have you worked with other creators that have gone through that framework and seen the results?
Not enough yet.
Okay. Yeah, always be
Need more.
testing. Yes.
Testers.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about like long-term growth. So is that something that you've really seen is important to long-term growth?
Yeah. So when I thought about the points where I had a dip in growth or wasn't putting out enough content, what were the things stopping me? There were certain points where my strategy was now outdated, didn't really matter anymore. There were certain points where like OpenSplit wasn't out, so I didn't do any clipping when it came to my 120 plus interviews, now 200 interviews. And so I was just sitting on that mountain of content. I didn't have the right tool to put it out there. And at other points where I was being lazy or I had seasonal affective disorder, I didn't want to actually put in the reps and do the execution factor. So at certain points, one of those things was missing. And when you have 2, you're going to see a little bit of growth. When you have all 3, that's when it's going to start to accelerate.
So we've been talking a lot about where the metrics are today. But let's talk a little bit more about where we're going. So AI, I know, is changing a lot of things. Obviously, it's changing things even inside of YouTube, being able to prompt and get some information back, which is great, I think. Just makes it easier for people who are not looking at the CSV file and doing all of the crazy Excel work there. Can we talk a little bit about where are things going? What's next for measurement?
Yeah, I think like the goal for everybody is to create to where the audience is going to be. And that's a moving target. People like, it's hard to have consecutive great album hits. Like, it's hard to have consecutive, like, hit seasons of TV. It's hard to have every movie in a franchise be a hit. It's hard to have every video you put up be great. So I think like you get really clear with your goals and then you find the tools that help you. For example, if you want max views and, subs, you can be like Daniel and make like a series of videos on DaVinci Resolve. And if somebody sees his thumbnail, wants to learn about DaVinci Resolve, it's a no-brainer to click on that every time. And he can see that which videos the audience tab will tell him which videos are growing your channel. Make more videos like that. Give the people who love you more to love. If it's somebody who just wants to convert, they can make very clear business decisions, whether it's their product or someone else's product. One of the things we're building out at YouTube, and I'll do this real fast, is dynamic brand insertion. So instead of having to burn in a brand deal that then is like outdated a year later, you'll be able to put a marker in a video, upload a separate asset that will play wherever you put it in the video, but like sell 1 million views or eventually like sell 1 month and then swap that out, or eventually also have like a different brand deal in America versus the UK, or maybe eventually go back and add deals to your old videos that didn't have them before. And that'll give you like a dynamism and an ability to understand like who you're appealing to, what you're appealing to, and be more empowered to create your own future.
So fun fact, I actually started my career in 2006 in the tech space working for a podcasting platform that did dynamic ad insertion for audio and video.
Yep.
So I'm really excited that it's finally part of video, social video on YouTube. I think it's actually going to be a pretty powerful tool.
I just wanted to jump in right there at a podcasting conference I went to. That was like the main topic, dynamic ads. I'm glad to see it on the video platform because I think that's such a big difference. I had a company I worked with, had their affiliate link on 300 videos. I stopped working with them. I replaced it with a different tool. Then I had to go back through. I think I might have just went in and bulk edited all the videos and just got rid of that link, but I could replace it with a new one. But imagine that for the video now too. That'd be great.
So Tayllor, let's talk a little bit about where do you think measurement is going?
Yeah, I'm not the professional in that realm, but what I would like to see, I would love to see brands kind of like modernize a little bit. Actually, I agree. I would love to see them start looking outside of vanity metrics and just trying to understand what that means for their brand and how it could work. Cause I think there are a lot of like mid-sized, even smaller creators that have so much impact, but they're getting overlooked because they don't have 100K or 250K. And I think that over time could really hurt the brand. You know what I mean? Because just because you have the numbers does not mean you're driving the metrics that you even want to see. And I would love to see creators start asking brands, what does success look like before they jump into campaigns? Since I've started doing that, I've been shocked at how many brands have different views and versions of success. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I asked because I have to build content that would make sense for this, right? So I would love to see both of those things happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of creators are actually not talking with the brands about what success actually means for a campaign. It could be brand awareness, it could be conversion, but there's many other things that could be happening too. Ashlee, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I think defining success right now for all of media is hard. The landscape is super fragmented. All the platforms speak different languages. The rules keep changing. And we're trying to figure out how do we define success in a new world, where previously we could look at a Nielsen rating. We could look at an impressions number and we know this. I can tell the CMO with this number, we did really well here. We're not in that world anymore. And being able to take these new metrics like community and how we're talking with these smaller groups, and that a creator with 50K followers that has a really engaged fan base, will outperform a passive fan base of somebody with 500,000 followers every single time. But it's kind of hard to talk up the chain, with those numbers. So you really have to be able to tell stories with your data. So I think that creators and agencies that are able to do that, have a huge edge because not only are they going to, get more deals, with the stories they can tell, but also it's going to shape the way that more traditional media companies are going to think about these metrics.
So we're running out of time, but I quickly want to just go around to everyone real, like super, super short. Just give one piece of advice to creators who right now are trying to figure out not only how to grow, but how they measure success, how they can be a successful creator. So it could be something to look at, a measurement, something extra to do. I'm going to keep it very, very open. Let's start with you.
Dang, I'm starting. I would say, I know this is so corny, this is so cheesy, but please be yourself, because there are a million people out here trying to be like other people, and those people all just get blurred into like one circle, and you don't want to be that. You want to stand out. So no one's going to be like you. Please be yourself. Don't let these platforms like pressure you in anything else.
Love it. Best way to stand out. Just be yourself. Ashlee?
I think the metric we most overlook is DMs and sends and private messages. So highlighting that is so critical when talking to brands, because that is like the most honest engagement you have, because comments can be performative. Likes are really easy. A send is like, I saw this and I thought about you, and I am now sending this to you, which really talks about or brings audience trust into the equation for those creators.
Dustin?
I've been somebody who said the DMs. I agree. That would make sense. I would say when it comes to like figuring out how to grow that creator equation I mentioned earlier, figure out what part you are missing, whether the strategy or the automation tools or the effort that you're putting in. And then when it comes to the value or like, am I actually doing impact? I like to think about the super connected mentality where you're connected with people, the networking effect. Are you able to reach out to different people, whether it's through comments or DMs or in person at events like this? Can you meet the people that you look up to? Could you meet the people that look up to you at some points even too? That's where I would say.
Yeah, that's great advice. All right, Renee, take us home.
Yeah. So think about what makes you really happy when you look at your channel. Is it the number of subscribers? Is it the number of views? Is it a comment that made your day? Like what actually lights you up? Not what feeds your ego, not what you want to be like, you want to go and share with somebody else, but what brings a smile to your face. Be really honest with yourself and then create around that.
This is all such great advice. So, we have to end the panel because we're out of time, but, we'll all be here for at least a few minutes. Come up, ask some questions. We're not going to do a Q&A here on stage, but you can find us over to the side over here. And, let's give a warm round of applause for our panelists.